Do you wish you could ride all of your favorite Epcot attractions and still have plenty of time left over to enjoy the amazing Flower and Garden Festival? And would you like to do all that stuff without running around the park like hey? Well, in today's video, we're going to show you how to use Disney Genie Plus to have a Flower and Garden Festival day that's practically perfect in every way. Let's go do it. Hi-ho everybody, this is Rob with Ear Scouts coming to you from the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. In today's video, we're going to show you how to balance your time between riding your favorite attractions using Disney Genie Plus, but also taking time to stop and smell the roses. Literally, we're gonna be smelling a lot of flowers today. Make sure you pack your allergy meds when you're coming to Flower and Garden Festival because there are a ton of blooms this year. Today's video is part of our Practically Perfect Day series. This is actually the second one of these that we've done. The idea behind these videos, it's not about showing you how to use Genie Plus to ride every single ride as quickly as you possibly can. It's more about showing you how to use Disney Genie Plus as a tool to free you up to enjoy the park. We're gonna ride plenty of rides. You could probably use these techniques to ride just about everything in this park, but our goal isn't really to do that in this video. It's to take our time to enjoy the park, but without sacrificing all the things that we wanna do while we're here. First, we're gonna go check in at our very first ride, Test Track, because the sooner we tap in there, the sooner we can book our next lightning lane. So let's go do it. Test Track is one of those attractions that actually has two touch points. So there's one out of the entrance, there's another one right around the corner here. This is basically what they do to make sure that people aren't hopping into the lightning lane who aren't authorized, but what it means is we can't book our next lightning lane until we tap in at the second one. It's not really worth memorizing which rides have two touch points. Just know if you tap into the first one and it won't let you book your next lightning lane yet, it probably means there's another touch point up ahead.
Monitoring road surface.
If you forgot to grab your cup of coffee this morning, that ride definitely will wake you up. While I do appreciate the shot of adrenaline this morning, that's actually not why I chose Test Track as our first ride. There are three rides here at Epcot that I consider the big three. These are the most difficult to grab lightning lanes for, and they are Remy, Frozen, and Test Track, probably in that order. The reason we're doing Test Track first is because it's right here at the front of the park. Since the other two big rides we've got to worry about are back in World Showcase, I didn't want to have to go back there and come back up to the front, so we went ahead and knocked out Test Track. If your goal was to be super efficient with Disney Genie and to make sure you got on as many of the rides as you could, as quickly as you could, you'd probably want to start with Remy. Also, if you are staying at an Epcot hotel and you're going to enter through that international gateway in the back, then I would also recommend starting with Remy. But since we were coming in from the front, Test Track made the most sense. When you're here at Epcot, there's actually two really important things you've got to do right at 7 a.m. For any park, you need to grab your first Genie Plus lightning lane if you're using Disney Genie Plus at 7 a.m. Everyone can do that. It doesn't matter if you're staying at a Disney hotel or not. But here at Epcot, there's an extra little wrinkle. Right now, there is a virtual queue for Guardians of the Galaxy. That is probably the most popular ride here at this park right now. And if you want to ride it, you're going to have to try to snag one of those virtual queue spots right at 7 a.m. So how do you manage to do both things at once? Well, the short answer is you can't if you're doing it by yourself. If there's someone else in your party, one of you would focus on trying to grab that virtual boarding group, the other would focus on grabbing that very first lightning lane. Since I am just one person, I had to do these one at a time. I chose to do the virtual boarding group first because it is definitely the most competitive, But before I did that, I set up my Disney Genie Plus service. You want to set Genie up first because then as soon as you're done booking that virtual boarding group, you can hop back over to the tip board, everything is all set up and ready to go, and you can book your first ride. Speaking of booking our next ride, I actually did just that. As soon as we tapped in at our second tap point over at Test Track, I booked Soarin, which is on my list of to-do attractions today. It's also up here towards the front of the park. I want to try to knock all those rides out at the front of the park now because the food booths aren't open yet. So all the festival stuff we're going to want to do back in World Showcase won't even open up really until around 11 o'clock. I did have to use that modified trick. I call it playing the Disney Genie slots because you're just going to keep spinning the reels on those slots and hopefully you're going to get a better return time than what you have. I did. I got an amazing return time for Soarin', so we could actually go do that right now. There are some cool topiaries and gardens up here that I want to show you guys, but we're gonna have to come back here later to do Guardians of the Galaxy, so we'll look at all that stuff in this World Discovery area when we do that. For now, we're heading over to World Nature to do Soarin'. As soon as we tap in here at Soarin', I'm gonna go ahead and book the other ride we have to do today at the Land Pavilion, and that is Living with the Land. But as soon as we're done with these two rides, I wanna talk to you a little bit about how to plan the things you wanna get done when you're here at Epcot and how to structure that plan to get the most done. We'll cover that as soon as we're done with these two rides. Let's go do it. I am really taking my time with this front area of the park, and the reason for that is there's one part of my day I can't control, and that is when I'm gonna get called to ride Guardians of the Galaxy. It looks like it's probably gonna be somewhere around noon, so I don't wanna get too far back into the park and have to come all the way up to the front. My goal is to kinda hang up here a little bit. Hopefully we're gonna get Guardians done, and then this whole front area of the park will be finished for us. So that's something we can't control. When we're gonna go to Guardians, that's up to the virtual queue gods to tell us when we're gonna do that. But there are things that we can control, and that's what I wanna talk about right now. What I recommend doing is, before you even take the trip, talk to everybody who's in your group, discuss what are the must-do rides for you, what are the attractions that you absolutely have to see. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna break those into some different groups. Group 1 is gonna be the attractions that are the hardest to book, the most popular attractions. That's gonna be Remy, Frozen, Test Track, and we'll put Guardians in that group as well, although we can't book that with Genie Plus, we have to get a virtual boarding group. But let's put those in Group 1. Then Group 2 is gonna be all the other rides that are here at the park, and most of those rides are clustered up here at the front. What I recommend doing, pick one of those rides from Group 1. Book that as your very first ride of the day, because as the day goes on, those 3 rides, Remy, Frozen, Test Track, are gonna get harder and harder to book. So we wanna have one of those out of the way. Now, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna complete all of my other attractions that are must-dos for me that I've chosen up here at the front of the park because I want to finish this area. I want to be done with World Celebration, World Discovery, and World Nature so that we can really focus on World Showcase for the rest of our day. So here's my list that I chose for must-do rides here at the Flower and Garden Festival. I started by picking the 5 most popular rides. I added to that Living with the Land because it's the Flower and Garden Festival, and there are some specific things that are in Living with the Land right now for the festival, so I wanted to put that in our to-do list for today. The other ride that I put in our to-do list is Journey into Imagination because it just so happens that the day that we are filming this video is Figment's birthday. This is the anniversary of the opening of Journey into Imagination, the original ride, so I felt like we couldn't come to Epcot on Figment's birthday and not ride Journey into Imagination with Figment. As soon as we get off this ride, I'm going to talk about those last 2 rides in our must-do list that we have to book, Remy and Frozen. And I'm going to show you some tips for making sure you get those crossed off your list before the end of the day. But for right now, let's go ride Figment. I am so glad we made a little time to spend with Figment on his birthday. Happy birthday, Figment! And now we've still got those 2 lightning lanes left to book. We've got Remy and we've got Frozen. So what I did, as soon as we tapped in at that second tap point, I went ahead and I booked whatever lightning lane I could get for one of those 2 rides we have left. I was seeing not currently offered for Remy, meaning that all of the initial lightning lane reservations are gone. Don't worry, it will probably come back. I'm almost certain it will come back. But for right now, I just went ahead and I grabbed Frozen. I'm probably not going to keep that reservation, but the reason I wanted to go ahead and book it is because of something called the 2-hour rule. So up until now, every lightning lane that we've booked, we've been able to book it because we tapped in at the one that we had booked just before it. So there are basically 3 ways you can book your next lightning lane. Number 1 is if the lightning lane that you've booked expires and you didn't use it, then you can book another one. Number 2 is what we just did. Go ahead and tap in at the most recent lightning lane that you've booked, and that frees you up to book the next one. But then the third option is what is known as the 2-hour rule. What this means is that you can book a lightning lane and then wait 2 hours from the moment that you booked it, and you're free to book another one. But now there's actually a bonus that Disney has added in, and that is the ability to modify a lightning lane reservation. We saw that a little bit earlier. So right now we could sit down for a little bit, play those Disney Genie slots, and try to get a better return time for Frozen, or what I'd actually prefer is to get a return time for Remy, because that one is going to be the toughest for us to book. We only had to play those Disney Genie slots for like a minute. It was that fast, and we were able to get a return time for Remy. I used a technique that one of our viewers calls getting your foot in the door, and I love that name for this. So basically what this means, sometimes when you're refreshing the tipboard screen, you'll see that a time shows up for something that's been showing as not currently offered. But if you don't tap in fast enough, that time has already been snatched up by somebody else. But don't refresh your view. Go back into the previous screen, and then instead of refreshing your view, you're going to tap back into that same time that's still showing. Now, it doesn't mean that that time is still available, but it does mean that you can basically tap into that time and refresh that way. So what you're going to do, you're going to tap into that same time and tap out of it. Tap in and tap out. And this is going to take the place of refreshing your screen. The reason you want to do it this way is because if you're successful, if you tap in and suddenly there is a new time available, you've got it. You don't need to worry anymore about tapping in fast enough. You just did the tap. So I always recommend use this technique when you're trying to get a ride that's not currently offered. If you can get your foot in the door, just keep doing that in and out until you get the time you're looking for. So we were able to do just that. We got an amazing return time over at Remy. It's going to be from 150 to 250 is our return window, and that's really going to be perfect. That's also going to basically determine for us which direction we're going to go in World Showcase. So since we're aiming for Remy, we're going to start with Canada, and hopefully that'll get us to France right around the time it's time to ride Remy. But first, we're going to enjoy all of the amazing festival offerings that are up here at the front of the park while we're waiting for our call back for Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to start right here in World Nature, and I want to point something out to you guys. This is the festival passport. You can pick these up when you enter the park. They're also at all of the different food booth locations, but you need this guy, number one, to tell you where everything is. It's going to give you listings of all of the different topiaries and gardens. It's going to have menus for the different kitchens, so you're definitely going to want to grab one of these guys. But I also wanted to point out the last page of this. This is what is called the Garden Grays. The idea behind this is, you see those little circles? We're gonna get stamps in all of those circles, and then we're gonna trade in our stamps for a special treat at the end of the day. There are special food items. They'll be marked here in the passport or on the menu at the different food booths, and they will be denoted as part of the Garden Grays. There's 11 of them, I believe, this year. All you have to do is eat 5 of those items, and then you qualify for the completer treat, which we will get at Pineapple Promenade later today. So I already got that first stamp right here in World Nature. Over at the Land Food Cart, they've got some healthy offerings. Unfortunately, the item that is on the Garden Grays is the not healthy option. It's a cookies and cream mousse, but it was really delicious and really rich. And the other thing I thought was really cool about it, it has a little edible flower, just like the ones you see growing in the greenhouses when you ride Living with the Land during this festival. Well, now let's go take a stroll around World Nature. We're gonna check out the amazing butterfly garden, and we're gonna see some of the great topiaries and other gardens that are available in this area of the park. As if on cue, as soon as we finished up over there at World Nature, we got the call, time to go save the galaxy yet again. We're gonna go tap in here at Guardians of the Galaxy, but as soon as we're done, we're gonna check out all the amazing festival things to see, do, and eat here in World Discovery.
Okay, they're headed for the jump point. This plane is never gonna work. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Save planet Earth. Check, we can cross that off the list. That is done for today. But you know what I did forget to do? I forgot to set an alarm to remind me to book my next lightning lane. And this is a really big tip I give in all of my videos, and today I didn't take my own advice. So whenever you're using the 2-hour rule, it's always a good idea. Go ahead, look in that chipboard screen. You're gonna see a blue bar. That's gonna tell you when you can book your next lightning lane. When you're using the 2-hour rule, it's just gonna show you basically what is 2 hours from the moment you book that initial reservation. For us, that was 1:15. I should have set an alarm on my phone for 1:15. I didn't do it, but it's okay. We're gonna sit down right now. We're gonna play those Disney Genie slots, and we are gonna get a return time for our last ride that we gotta get, and that is Frozen. I went ahead and just grabbed Mission Space immediately because that was an easy one to grab, and that starts that next 2-hour clock counting. Now, even though we don't have any more rides to ride here at Epcot, I might decide to head on over to Magic Kingdom after I'm done making this video, so I still want to make use of that 2-hour rule. I still want to start that clock counting as quickly as I can. In the meantime, I found a nice quiet spot right here behind the creation shop. I've got the next item on the garden graze, which is an avocado toast from Brunchcott, and it also has those adorable edible flowers on it. Flower and Garden Festival is all about those edible flowers. I'm gonna play those Disney Genie slots while I'm sitting here enjoying this avocado toast, and then we're gonna check out all the cool things to do here in World Discovery. There is a lot in this area, from prehistoric plants to a community garden. Let's go do it. Well, I did manage to snag a return time for Frozen. It took a little bit of time playing those Disney Genie slots, but we got one for 8:15. I don't love that time because honestly, I'd really rather that we be grabbing a spot for fireworks right around then. So what I'm gonna do, and this is what I would recommend you do in any situation like this, whenever you're in line for food booths or whenever you're sitting around waiting for folks to use the restroom, whatever the case may be, when you have downtime, just go back into My Disney Experience, tap on those 3 little dots on that reservation, modify that plan, and keep trying to move that return time up. Well, we've got one last stop here at World Discovery that I am super excited about. This year, Orange Bird has his very own home at the festival. It is the Citrus Blossom right here at the Odyssey Pavilion. Let's go check it out. This is delicious. That big brie. Holy cow, it is amazing. It is full of ooey gooey brie cheese. It's a little doughy, a little flaky, but 100% delicious. Well, our belly is somewhat full. Time to head on over to World Celebration and see what's going on for the festival in that area of the park. I was so captivated by that amazing baked brie. I forgot to mention, while I was in line to get the brie, I managed to get a much better Lightning Lane return time for frozen. We backed it up all the way to 4:15, which is honestly perfect. It is finally time to start exploring the World Showcase, and I am super excited about it. Our first stop is Canada, one of my favorite pavilions, just because it is so stinking beautiful. The gardens in Canada are just second to none. It is a beautiful, peaceful place to hang out all year round, but it's even more fun to be here during Flower and Garden because there's some extra topiaries and of course some delicious festival food. There are 2 spots here where you can get festival treats. Refreshment Port has a special festival poutine. I did not try that today because it's shrimp and I'm just not a seafood person. Eric normally reviews the seafood stuff. He's not with me today. So we are not going to try the poutine this year, but we did try some stuff from the regular food booth, Northern Bloom, and I gotta say, that chocolate whiskey cake is, holy cow, delicious. I would say it's worth a stop in Canada just to try that cake. It is that good. Now let's go check everything out. Cheerio from the UK Pavilion. Unfortunately, there is no food booth in the UK Pavilion this year, but it more than makes up for it by having 3 different festival gardens, including a tea garden where you can get a guided tour. There's also some of the most spectacular topiaries here. Let's go check it all out. Zut alors, mes amis, we are running late for our lunch date with Remy here in France, but before we head in, we gotta check out some of the beautiful topiaries that are out here in the garden.
Here we apologize for the delay and ask you that you remain seated at this time. Thank you for your patience and cooperation. We will resume your journey as soon as possible.
Well, that was very sweet of the cast members. They allowed all of us who got delayed to ride again if we wanted to. Sadly, we do not have time to ride again because we have got way too much to do today. Time to continue our culinary adventure with a little amuse-bouche here in France. Next up is Morocco, which is always one of my favorite culinary destinations for every festival. I think the item from the menu we're going to check out this time is the hummus because it is on the garden graze. You can also find a garden here. It's a spice garden. And inside that spice garden, you might find Spike the bee. The reason I bring that up is because of this, my friends. It is the scavenger hunt for this festival. It is called Spike's Pollination Exploration. You're going to find Spike the bee all around the park, not just the World Showcase. He's going to be pollinating a particular flower or plant. You need to identify which plant it is he's pollinating. You're going to find the sticker of that plant and place it on the front of this map. Once you get all the spots filled, you can turn this in for a special prize at the end. Kids love doing these things. It's fun to find Spike the bee, and then you get to put the stickers on it. If you've got one of those little ones who doesn't really necessarily love exploring the World Showcase, pick up one of these. It's only $9.99. It gives them something fun to do while you enjoy the festival. Now let's head into Tangerine Cafe and try that hummus. Here in the Japan Pavilion, you're gonna find some brand new festival gardens this year, and one of them is my favorite. I love this garden so much. It's called the Shishi Odoshi Garden, which translates to scare the deer. Basically, this is like the Japanese version of a scarecrow, and it is super cool. There are these really elaborate, kind of Rube Goldberg-like contraptions that use water to cause different things to move. Sometimes a string gets pulled and an instrument gets played. It makes all kinds of wonderful little musical noises, and I guess maybe it's good for scaring off deer? I don't know. It's certainly entertaining to watch. There's also some other gardens here we're gonna check out, and of course, the festival food booth. I'm not a big fan of sushi, but I think maybe I can get behind frushi. Let's go check it out. Our next stop is Norway, and those of you who know the World Showcase, you're probably thinking, Rob, no, the next country is not Norway, but we did have to skip ahead a little bit because our lightning lane is about to expire. So in case you're wondering, you do get a 20-minute grace period on the end of a lightning lane. I don't like to go beyond 20 minutes though, because at that point, it really is up to the discretion of the cast member whether they're gonna let you in, and I just don't like putting cast members in that position. This is actually our last lightning lane. We are now completely done with Genie Plus. Now, keep in mind, if you wanted to park hop, you could keep using Disney Genie Plus. Also, of course, there's some rides we haven't done in this park, so if you had some time later in the night, you could definitely book those as well. Well, the storm clouds are definitely rolling in. We've got one more country on this side of Norway. I decided we'd go ahead and finish off, partly because it kind of made sense we could do this and then backtrack, but also partly because I love the food here. Here you'll find Jardín de Fiestas, which is one of my favorite festival booths year after year. They have this taco there, and it's called the Taco Vampiro. Imagine a taco that has cheese all around the outside of it, and then that cheese has been charred until it's nice and crispy. Oh my gosh, it is heavenly. First up though, we're gonna check out the tropical rainforest that is set up at this pavilion for the festival, and then we're gonna try some of those delicious Mexican treats. Let's go do it. A bit bummed about the placement of this particular garden because it is so peaceful and relaxing, but unfortunately they basically placed it on the exit of the pavilion, so there's constantly tons of people going back and forth through here. So it's not exactly a peaceful oasis, but it is certainly very beautiful. Our next stop is China, home to the Lotus House, where you can find some traditional Chinese delicacies. This is also home to 2 different festival gardens. Let's go check them out. Well, the rain has started. We've got 3 countries left, so I think I'm gonna take refuge here at the Refreshment Outpost. This is kind of the stand-in for Sub-Saharan Africa here at the World Showcase. They do have an item on the festival menu that is part of the garden graze, so I think we'll check that out, and hopefully this rain will pass while we're eating that. Pineapple has definitely been marinated in something. It is very sour. And then it's got that tahini seasoning. Kind of reminds me of something you'd get in Mexico. It's not really that spicy. We've had tahini before. It's a spice, but it's not like spicy. It's actually kind of more salty than spicy. If this is your jam, that kind of traditional Mexican mix of really tart flavors mixed with spicy and salty, you'll probably like this a lot. I think I'm just gonna chill out here for a little bit and wait out this rain. Fingers crossed we can finish the World Showcase tonight. So it is not just raining, it is monsooning. There is massive wind, there's rain. While it is definitely possible to have a practically perfect day in a monsoon, I've done it here at Walt Disney World, it is sadly not possible for me to film a practically perfect day in a monsoon. But guess what, everybody? There is no need to fear, because we have not booked a lightning lane for Spaceship Earth yet. And in case you're not aware, Spaceship Earth is a time machine. So I just booked a lightning lane for Spaceship Earth, and we are going to travel through time to another day when it's not raining, and then we can finish our practically perfect day. Are you ready? Let's go get on our time machine, and I will see you in the future. Well, that sure was handy. I always forget that Spaceship Earth is a time machine, which honestly comes in very handy when you're trying to have a practically perfect day here at Epcot. Is it just me, or did my hair actually grow while I was in Spaceship Earth? It almost feels like 2 whole weeks have passed. Weird, right? It's actually a little bit chilly here today in the future, so I'm gonna throw on a jacket, but then I'm gonna meet you guys right where we left off, over in World Showcase. Our next stop is definitely worth the wait. We are here in Germany with an emphasis on the mini there, because there are a lot of really cool mini things to check out. Here you'll find some mini gardens, which is a German tradition. It's like a little miniature village that's been turned into a topiary display. The other thing you should check out while you're here is the train village. Now, the train village is actually here all year round, but one thing a lot of people don't notice about it, they actually change out the little flags on the light posts for each of the different festivals. This is also the location of one of my favorite topiaries year after year, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. But enough chatting about it, let's go check it all out. Next up, we are saying buongiorno to Italia. Here at the Italy Pavilion, you will find the last of our festival gardens. I'd like to tell you that we saved the best for last, but it's kind of ho-hum. It's basically a little garden of classic Italian vegetables. You'll find tomatoes and basil and eggplant and that sort of thing. This is also the home of Primavera Kitchen, which, if you've watched a lot of our videos, you'll know Italy, not usually the best food booth at these festivals. They do, however, have some of the most Instagrammable items lately. At the last festival, we loved the artist palette that they had, and this one doesn't disappoint either. They've got a chocolate pudding that's covered with crumbled up chocolate cookies, and there's a little plant in there and a little gummy worm. It's super adorable, super Instagrammable. This is actually a dish that I think previously was called worms and dirt, but this year it has a very Italian name that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. The star of this pavilion for the festival, though, is definitely the Lady and the Tramp topiary. Let's go check it all out. Our final stop is the American Adventure Pavilion. It's also where we're going to find our very last topiary, and in this one we definitely did save one of the best for last. This is a brand new topiary this year of Tiana from Princess and the Frog. It is a beautiful topiary. This is also the location where you're going to find Garden Rocks, which I think you might actually be hearing Garden Rocks as it's going on right now. At the end of this video, we're going to leave you with some footage of our experience at Garden Rocks. We saw Steve Augeri, who was the former lead singer of Journey. It was an amazing show. I definitely recommend check out the schedule before you come, and if it's someone you really want to see and that someone is a really popular act, you might want to consider getting what's called the Garden Rocks dining package. Basically, you're going to get a reservation at one of the table service restaurants here at Epcot, and it's going to include a special ticket that'll give you really great seats for the show. You don't have to wait a really long time to get great seats. They're just reserved for you right at the front. We're also going to check out Magnolia Terrace, the food booth here. Let's go do it. We've gotten all of the stamps we need for the Garden Graves, which means it's time to go all the way back up to the front of World Showcase to redeem that for a special treat. But walking all the way back up to the front of World Showcase does not seem like part of the practically perfect day here at Epcot, right? So what we're going to do instead, we're going to take a friendship boat. In case you're not aware, there is a friendship boat that will take you from Morocco to Canada. So basically, from the back of World Showcase to the front, it departs every 15 minutes, and it sure beats walking. So let's go hitch a ride on the friendship boat. We are back up here at the front of the park at Pineapple Promenade. Our Garden Graze stamps have all been collected, and now it is time to turn it in for the redemption treat. This year's redemption is a mango lime Dole Whip. It is super tart, but it comes in an adorable plastic glass that you can take home with you. It also comes with a packet of seeds for wildflowers. I love this. Normally these redemptions will be a frozen treat and a sugar cookie that is cute but not all that tasty. What I love about the wildflowers is this is something you can bring back home from the Flower and Garden Festival and plant in your own garden. We have one last stop before we head out of the park. It is all the way up at the front. We're going to see a projection show that is just for the Flower and Garden Festival. It is projected onto Spaceship Earth, and it is to the theme of Encanto. Let's go check it out. Well, my friends, we're gonna leave you with some footage of that awesome Garden Rocks concert I was telling you about with Steve Augeri, the frontman for Journey. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell. That way you will be notified whenever videos like this come out. Until next time, don't forget to think happy thoughts, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.